Hello everyone, this is Sakurala, and today I wanted to make a full-on guide on Endless mode on Tdx. So Endless mode is this mode that is not really endless, but takes a very long time to complete. For now, Endless ends at wave 201, and you have to lose on wave 201 because there's no wave 202. Basically, the last real wave is wave 200 with the Void Apex Predator. And today I wanted to make a full-on guide on how to beat some hard waves and some tips and tricks with some towers that you can do to make all of your endless experience a lot easier. And I just for this I recorded an entire endless run in solo to wave 200. Yes, I went to wave 200 in solo. I did not beat the Apex Predator in this video, well, the Void Apex Predator, sorry, but I did beat it in another endless run that I did. So this endless run will not show what I did to win against the Void Apex Predator, but it's what to do with some hard waves to make you go to wave 200 and most likely win. So even though it's missing the first 20 waves, I think it's still alright because the early game is basically just use Slammer and win. So now I'm gonna pass on the important part of the video, which is tips and tricks with every tower and some hard waves. So first off, before we start having some tips with the towers, I need to talk about some bosses. And here we have to talk about Eradicator Mark IV. And Eradicator Mark IV, when he starts on wave 50, will always target the closest ship to Is. So on this case, it was the ship that is on the right of the ore rig. And there's another trick with Eradicator Mark IV is that the first rocket he shoots will always be a real one and will kill the warship. And the second one will always be a fake one and will not kill the warship. But after this, it's kinda random. So my tips for this is when you know he's gonna shoot the real rockets is that you need to sell the warship that he's targeting. And do not worry about the money loss, you can place the warship back almost immediately. And do not sell the ship when you know it's gonna be a fake one, because there will be lost money and lost DPS. This is the only case where you don't want to sell the warship. So now we need to talk about Eradicator Mark I combat. Eradicator Mark I combat will kinda act like Mark IV, in case he will attack the ship that are close to him before attacking the ones that are far away. And here, he has multiple abilities that are dangerous both to warships and the towers. So the one that is the most dangerous to warship is the rocket missiles. The rocket missiles, he's just spam them and then, well, it either goes in all places and every tower gets hit, or it just goes in one places and warship just dies by itself. Mark I combat has also this very annoying ability, which is Rage Mode, which he activates when he gets very low health. Here it did not activate because I was fast enough, but he will regen all of his health and all of his shield if he does. So my tip here is to, again, sell warship if you know one of them is gonna die, and to spam XWM turrets because Golden Juggernaut will die to the Deadly Laser ability. He just swing his laser eyes in front of towers and will kill every tower in this radius. And since XWM turrets cannot die immediately, it is the best case to use them, and it's the best way just to spam them because it will not die immediately. And now we have to talk about one of the boss that I like the least. It's the Apex Predator. Apex Predator, the first ability he will always do is spawn. He will spawn 13 Predators and 3 Hunters, or 2, I don't really know, but it's one of those. And there's a trick with Apex Predator here, is that he will always attack the 4 warships that are the closest to the map. So in this case, it's the 4 warships that are like literally just next to the ore rig. But also there is another trick that you can do with Apex Predator to make it very easy. And this one is the Slammer trick. So basically what you need to do is that when the Apex Predator spawns, you want to stun him immediately with the Tough Pass Slammer ability. And then you just continue until he just doesn't spawn anything. And with that, you can just skip the spawn and attack him immediately. But since I am not very good at this, I can just make him skip one ability and then he will always spawn. Other than that, the Apex Predator is very aggressive, but is fairly easy to kill. So, my tips again is to focus on the rocket pods he shoots, the laser, and the laser bullets that he shoots at warships. If you know that the warship is going to survive, don't sell it. But if he shoots three laser bullets, you know that the warship is going to die, so sell it. The laser eye can sometimes kill it, but it's only when the warship is already weakened. And the rocket pods goes kinda everywhere, so warship will get damaged, but they will not die. And it's mostly because of those that, well, the laser eyes can kill the warship. And now we have to talk about the last main boss that has appeared first in Endless, and it's Calamity. Calamity is a very hard boss even in the first appearance, so here there's multiple things that you need to know. First off, Calamity will always stomp before using a spawn ability, and this spawn ability will spawn a lot of enemies all across the track, and this is the only time where he's gonna do it. The only other times that he will spawn is after a stomp. This stomp will spawn a little amount of enemies and is always close to Calamity. And here what you want to do for Calamity is that it does not kill warship immediately, but you still need a lot of DPS and attention to them. So basically what I'm saying is that when Calamity goes under 1 million HP, which it has 6 million by the way, well, he will start to scream and a certain percentage of your tower will die. I don't know exactly how much that percentage is, but some towers are gonna die, including the warship. And after that, he will always do a stomp spawn and he will be doubled in speed. So be aware of that, because Calamity can go very fast in that phase. As you can see here, even though it's double speed, he almost made it to the end of the track. And basically, you need to use Slammer Stun to keep it at bay. So basically, you need to take the top pass Slammer and use the ability on him so he can get slowed down. But of course, if you want to use some power-ups that can slow him down, I'm not stopping you, and it's always better than using the Slammer. But Slammer is a literal free alternative and that you need to use and that you need to learn for some later waves. So now I will start to talk about some waves that are important for you to know and how to beat them. So first off, we have wave 100, which spawn every Eradicator except the golden variants of Mark IV and Mark I combat. In this wave, you'll have to fight the Eradicator, Eradicator Mark II, Eradicator Mark IV, and Eradicator Mark I combat. And in this wave, you don't really care about Mark I and Mark II. You really need to focus on Mark IV and Mark I combat. You're always going to kill Mark I combat before everyone else. And maybe Eradicator Mark I is going to die before. And sometime Eradicator Mark II will die at the same time as Eradicator Mark I combat. As you can see here, Mark I combat died first before Mark II, and Mark IV is still full health. In this wave, unfortunately, I need you to stop focusing on warship because a lot of them will die and you don't have enough time to focus on each of them. So my tip is to use Slammer Stuns for Mark I combat and Mark IV, and to just keep very much attention to the other DPS towers, which is XWM and Golden Juggernaut, because Mark I combat and Mark IV can kill them fairly easily, so you need to replace them very quickly. And here, the other wave that I wanted to talk about is wave 103, which have a Revive Plague Doctor, a Plague Doctor, and Eradicator Mark IV. Well, you don't really much care about the Plague Doctors, but Eradicator Mark IV has a lot of HP and a lot of shield. And in this wave, you can try to salvage some warships because there's only one Eradicator Mark IV. And the tips that I said about Eradicator Mark IV before still applies on this wave. Stun him and sell warships that you know are gonna die. So here, most of the time it's gonna be warships that are far away. Compared to wave 50, where I had only like 8 of them, and it was very close, this time it's gonna attack warships that are fairly far away. And most of the time it's gonna be the warships that are in the top left corner of the map. Next wave that I want to talk about is wave 130, which has 1 Apex Predator, 2 Eradicators Mark IV, and 1 Assailants. This wave is kind of the same as wave 100, is that you do not want to try to save your warship because a lot of them will die, most likely to Apex Predator in close range and Eradicator Mark IVs in long range. So those in the top left corner and the ones that are next to the ore rig are the most likely to die. But also, here you also want to do the Slammer stun on Apex Predator to make this wave easier. I saw my friend Lefty Let's Play doing this, and the Apex Predator literally just never spawned, and he killed the Eradicator Mark IV very easily, and also the Apex Predator. But also, this wave is the first introduction of the Assailants. The Assailants is a very annoying enemy that has a 99% resistance to lasers and explosions, so Golden Juggernaut's bottom path and warships cannot do anything to them. But XWM turrets and top half Juggernaut can do a lot to them. And also mine layers and golden mine layers on bottom pass, which ignores explosive resistance. So in this wave it's very easy to kill since XWM can just kill them by themselves. But on later waves with the Assailant spam, you better be prepared for this. The next wave that is much important is wave 137. Which spawns the Super Revived Toilet John Mark 19X and 2 Eradicators Mark IV. And yeah, the tank toilets are not that hard. And here, like I said with the Apex Predator, you do not want to try to save your warship because of the Eradicator Mark IV. The John Toilet itself is not that much scary, it's just a bit fast, and you can just stun them with the Slammers, which is a tip that you will see is very important for most bosses. And here, once you kill the John Toilets, the Eradicators Mark IV will most likely die in just 2 seconds. So in this wave, just try to be fast by killing the John Toilet, and then you can just go on with the Eradicator Mark IV. The next wave is 140, which spawns 1 Nightmare Exosanta and 1 Eradicator Mark II. This wave is fairly easy because none of them can kill warships and most of them die very easily. The spawn from Nightmare Exosanta can easily be being killed by the warships, and just the boss itself just died pretty fast with the Golden Juggernaut and XWM combo. And the Eradicator Mark II, well, it's just like the Eradicator Mark II at wave 40, he has an elf buff, of course. But that's it, and that's all he does, so he can just die easily. This wave is a boss wave, but it's mostly like a filler wave, so you don't need to pay that much attention to this wave. With this wave, you enter the endgame of Endless mode, and this wave is 150 with the Golden Eradicator Mark IV. So, Golden Eradicator Mark IV works just like Eradicator Mark IV, but this time, the rocket missiles, he used this ability way more often, and most of them you cannot detect if it's a real one or not. Compared to the normal Eradicator Mark IV, where the first one is always a real one and the second one always a fake one, this one, let's just say that he does not have a set pattern, so the rockets is either always deadly or always blank. But other than that, the boss is rather easy to kill itself, and is mostly to prepare you for the rest of Endless mode, which is going to be more and more brutal from this point on. With wave 159, you begin to see the horrors of Endless mode with the Assailant spam. I do not know exactly how much Assailant there is, but this wave just begins to make you see how much harder Endless mode is going to be. So here, my tip is to place a lot of mine layers or golden mine layers at the back, and to make them stun with the slammers to group them up. Because even though there are 99% resistance to warship, any damage that you can deal to them is damage taken. And you can just spam slammers hit because they are not immune to this. And as you can see here, as long as they walk in the minefield here, they're immediately dead. And wave 160 will just come by with your Radidogs and it's just super easy. This wave just demonstrates what you need to wait your mind for the later waves. With wave 166, you see the Calamity for the second time, but this time he has double the HP, so 14 million. This wave is not that much different from wave 80, except that the fact that Calamity has double health. So my tips here are the same that for normal Calamity. Stun him with the slammers and focus on the normal DPS with the bottom path Juggernaut. And of course replacing SMW turret because most of them are gonna die in this wave. And also remember what I said when Calamity goes under 1 million health, which is when he screams and a certain percentage of the tower will die. I still don't know that percentage, but it's somewhere around 10%. So most of your towers are gonna die this wave. And this wave is also one of the first waves that most of the enemies are going to end the end of the path and go into the mine layer field or the golden mine layer field. But in this case, even if you don't have them, it's better to use Warship against the Calamity, even though most of them will die after that. I kind of want to talk about wave 169 because it has only one super heavy zombie, but it has almost 14 million health by itself. So you need to prepare for this and freeze him before facing the Golden Eradicator Mark 1 combat. This guy is very aggressive, just like Mark 1 combat, normal, but let's just say that he's a bit faster for some reason, and he's way more aggressive. But other than that, it's the same strategy that for Eradicator Mark 1 combat. Except that this time, for some reason, the Rage mode does not activate properly, and sometimes he will just not do it, and sometimes he will do it at very low health. Like here, he will activate at not even like 200,000, something like that. Yes. And now as you can see, he's full health, and I need to do that again. But since Mark 1 Combat Golden is just kind of the normal one, yeah, it's kind of easy to kill. And other thing that you want to prepare is for wave 171. Wave 171 is Grumbles that are super buffed with Resurrected Johns. So what you want to do here is play some freezers to freeze the Grumbles. As you can see here, I managed to freeze one, but the second one gets fast. So for this wave, it's one of the ways that you will most likely die if you don't have power-ups or a good strategy. So here I used the nuke and skip 171 to go to 172 immediately, which is the Nightmare Void. And let's just say that Nightmare Void, it's kind of a big deal because he has way more health than in Tower Battle's Nightmare. And if you time right with the nuke, you can kill both the wave 171 Grumbles and the Nightmare Void spawn. Nightmare Void has a lot of abilities. For starters, he will start to scream. That's always the first ability he's going to use. And this scream will stun everything and kill every unit on the path. It does not work on mines because why would you scream on mines? And most of his abilities are very dangerous. Most likely the boat telekinesis, where he just takes boats and just slams them in the water and it kills them. So be very aware of that. But other than that, Nightmare Void is kind of easy to kill other than that. So just be wary of what warship dies and replace them immediately. After this wave, there's a boss 3 spam. But this wave is kind of easy, just make sure that you have most of your auxiliary warship placed back. And it's a very good wave to start on. Then we have 174, which is the second Super Revive John Toilet 1x9. And this boss has 18 million health and 18 million shield. So it's basically Void Apex Predator. But here, it's way less aggressive and its skill way less. But something that you imperatively need to do is the Slammer stun. Because the Slammer will slow him a lot. And even though he is pretty slow, he will get to the back of the map very quickly. Even though you don't have the ×2 speed modifier on. And here, as you can see, I did not even take a huge dent in his shield. So my tip here is the same. This is stun him with slammers, make sure to replace turrets and juggernauts with if some of them die, and just be very wary at when you need to stun with slammers, because if you try to do the stun slam again, but it's too close to the previous one, it's not gonna stun the John Toilet and just every boss in general. So be wary of that. And most likely, this boss is gonna die at the very back of the line at the start of the stairs near the helicopter that served the base. For wave 175, there is a mystery boss spam. It's the same mystery boss from Tower Battle's Nightmare. But here, every boss has the same amount of health that it would have normally. And the boss that it can spawn are the Revive Plague Doctor, Eradicator, Eradicator Mark II, Apex Predator, and Calamity. Here, you do not want it to spawn Calamities because this will most likely ruin your run. It can spawn Apex Predators, but you need to be very careful about this. Here you see that I had a lot of luck, and only Eradicators Mark II, Revive Plague Doctors, and Eradicator spawned. And wave 176 is the start of the nightmare because you have another Assassin spam with 6 hunters. Yes, 6 hunters. And this thing, it's one of the harder waves in Endless mode. It's not the hardest, and you can definitely kill some Assassins before they even reach the minefield, but just make sure that you use the same tip as before. Use the Slammer stun, and you can even use the Golden Mine Layer ability if it's bottom path. It just throws the mine, but the primary target will get 4,000 additional damage with the 1,500 that it has. So basically 5,500 damage to the primary target. And since Golden Mine Layer bottom path stuns every enemy, it can group up most assailants with this. But just make sure to group them up with the Slammers before. That's all I have to say for this. Wave 178 has a very fast Mark 1 combat. But this wave, you just kill the Eradicator Mark 1 combat fairly easily. I just wanted to point out that this wave can pretty much shock you if you're not prepared for it. And after that, you have 4 Goliaths with, I think, 5 million health or something like that. So yeah, group them up with Slammers and stun them with the Golden Mine Layers. Wave 180 is a very difficult wave because you have one Calamity that is like the wave 166 Calamity, which has 14 million health, and it spawns a normal Void and not a Nightmare Void. Here, what you want to do is to stun slam with the Slammers for the Calamity and target some of the warship at last to target the Void, because the Void will take the warship and just kill them. This is why you need to kill the Void before killing the Calamity, and if you kill the Calamity before the Void, this is basically impossible because some of the DPS that you have at the front for, well, the early damage will just start targeting the Void instead of targeting the Calamity. And the Calamity will get very far on this wave, just like wave 166, so be wary of that. The Void is the main issue here, so you want to take the warship to target them, because most of the other DPS will still target the Calamity and you want them to target the Calamity. But I recommend some of the 2.5, the 2.5 warships to target the Void, even though they get killed very easily by it. And this wave is basically the start of the end game, which is basically every wave from here is gonna be extremely hard. And here, as you can see, the Void died first, but now we need to focus the Calamity, which is almost full health at the middle of the map. So yeah, this wave is pretty scary, so be wary of that. All of the waves 180s are filled with Assassin spam, but the first important wave is 190. Which spawned a Void and a Multiplier X, so you're gonna have to deal with a double Void for here. And most likely here, the damage are gonna be dealt to the Assassins from previous waves. But once those Assassins are dead, you're gonna see that the Void are gonna die fairly quickly, but also that your warship will also die fairly quickly. So be very wary of that, because you can lose most warship on this wave, and this is not the worst part of it. Here comes the real deal, wave 191. This wave spawns 4 Calamities, but it's 4 Calamities that appears in wave 80, so they only have 6 million health each and not 14. But still, this wave is very dangerous. So my tip here is to use a Mohab for all the spawns of the calamities and not a nuke, because that does not serve that much purpose, and because a nuke is very expensive. Of course, if you have a nuke to spare, you can always launch it and deal a significant amount of damage on the calamities. But here, this wave is hard for the same reason for 166, 80, and 180. This wave, if you have a calamity, you know it will scream under 1 million and kill a certain percentage of towers. But here you have 4 of them, which means 4 screams, 4 times this percentage, and this means that you're gonna have more and more towers dying each time you kill a calamity. So here, tip is you need to group up the most calamities with the slammer. And since one of them is always going to scream, you want to stun them, and then the calamities are at the back, because you don't want the calamities to get too far. And of course, you can just spam slammers at the back just to slow down the spawns. But it is not necessary, it is just an additional tip that you can have. Wave 992 is a weird wave, because you have mostly 80 revived plague doctors, so they're most likely gonna kill some golden juggernauts and maybe some XWM turrets. But here the real danger is of course the revived plague doctors, but you have some additional danger to that, which is the singular grumble and the 24 resurrected giants. Here the grumble has a lot of HP, but not as much as on wave 171. So be very wary of that, and you're most likely going to kill them with the golden mine layers at the back. But of course you can stun the grumble with the slammers, and you most likely want to do this with the grumbles. And remember that you're still breathing out from wave 191, so most of your towers are still dead. So the priorities to replace here are warships, and then you're going to place XMW, golden juggernaut, and then you're gonna place your golden mine layers. Here I place golden mine layers before placing everything else, because I thought there were gonna be more grumbles, but actually no. So I begin to start in my warship. And basically here, after wave 192, you begin to have breather waves. Except maybe one wave, which is wave 198 with a singular normal, but it doesn't have that much HP than the heavy zombie. So here, after wave 192, you can be sure to replace kinda everything. And of course, now we have wave 200 with the Void Apex Predator. The Void Apex Predator you can make the spawn pretty late again with Slammer, but it will always spawn whether you like it or not. And here, what is good with the Void Apex Predator is that he only spawns once, so you don't need to be worried about him spawning 2 other Apex Predator at the end of the line. And these Apex Predators have the same amount of health down on wave 130, so they will take a fair amount of time to kill, but not that much. And also very important on this wave, there is also a normal Void that will spawn behind the Void Apex Predator. So you want to target some warships to last, but be worried that most of the warships are going to die due to Apex Predator and Void Apex Predator. And of course, Void is also going to kill them. So most of your towers are going to die this wave, and you don't have an excellent micro, you're most likely going to die. And on this wave, I exactly died. But it's alright, because, well, I had fun doing it, and because I learned myself while playing. So here I want to take this time to talk about towers. Here, the warship, you want to start with a top path warship, not with a bottom path. Because if you start with a bottom path, well, yeah, it can do most damage to bosses, but it's mostly used for speedruns, and here it's not a speedrun guide, it's just completion guide. So here you want to place top path warship. But after this one dies, like most likely after Eradicator and Mark 1 combat at wave 60, you can replace it with a bottom path warship, and then you can just spam bottom path, except when it comes to the far end of the map. At the far end of the map, you want to place top path warships, because they have way much range, and of course because they have way more crowd control than a bottom path warship. For the golden juggernauts, you mostly want them to be bottom path on every wave, except for the assignment spam because they are laser resistant. So you need like the top path golden juggernaut for wave 180 to 190, also for wave 159, and also for 168. These waves you need the most top path golden juggernaut. But other than that, you can just spam bottom path golden juggernaut, and even on wave 200 because the Void Apex Predator has been nerfed. He doesn't have a full-on resistance to laser. He only has like 25% resistance to lasers, which is kind of a lot, but with the DPS of golden juggernaut, it's mostly negligible. Now, with XWM turrets, you want most of them to be top path, of course because they ignore bullet resistance, and bullet resistant enemies are not that much common in Endless, but you still want this because it has the most DPS. The only time where you want a bottom path XWM turret is when they are out of range, and top path turret does not have that much range to hit the enemies, or if you want additional ground control with the warships. You mostly use XWM turret bottom path on maps that do not have water on them, like Singularity. But you're most likely gonna play Endless on Oil Rig like I do here because it's the easiest map in the game. So yeah. For the golden mine layers, you want them to place them at the very back of the map. And always bottom path because they do the most damage and they ignore explosive resistance. So like that, you can do damage to the assignment spam. And now for the last part, slammers. You want to place 2 slammers for the early game to wave 1 till wave 10, and after that you can place an XWM or Golden Juggernaut, but what I do is that I place a warship to already begin to deal with the Plague Doctor and the Revived Plague Doctor. And after that, you want to place the slammer at the very top of the spawn, so you can stun Apex Predator, Void Apex Predator, and pretty much every boss in the game fairly easily and fairly fast enough. And now what I did is that I use Cryoblasters. Cryoblasters is mostly useful for wave 171, 169, and 198. So for the heavy zombie, for the grumbles, and for the normal zombie. It's mostly just to stun them and you have time to prepare for the Golden Eradicator Mark 1 Golden, the Nightmare Void, and of course, Void Apex Predator. So that is it for this Endless guide, and now I will begin with the outro. So that is it for this video. I really hope you liked it. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment on this video if you think I missed anything. Of course, there are some waves that I decided to skip because they were either too easy or none of them were just like worth noting. Like wave 121 where the Eradicator Mark 4 that is fairly fast just dies really fast, so it does not have any time to kill your warship. So anyways, hope you liked this video and I'll see you in another one. Goodbye.